Welcome to Spiritual Rockstar Podcast, where world-changing spiritual entrepreneurs come to deeply awaken the power within to bring forth their greatest purpose, to create massive awakened impact for millions of souls around the planet, while enjoying being in tune with all life and real wealth in all aspects of their lives. I'm your host, Daniel John Hanneman.
The Spiritual Rockstar Podcast show. All right, so we've got an incredible guest today, Ellen Rogin. She's just magical when it comes to money. She's like got the like invisible walkway that's actually there for you to walk the path of enlightenment and prosperity with money. It's right there for you, but you just can't see it. She helps you to be able to see it and to walk that path easily. It's in a beautiful way. It's safe. It's safe. It's safe. It's safe. There's a lot of fear around money. Ellen helps you to feel safe with money, helps you to start taking those next steps so you can expand what's possible for you financially and much more. So I'm grateful to have you today, Ellen.
I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much.
All right. So let's have everybody learn more about you. Ellen Rogin, CPA, CFP, is a money expert, New York Times bestselling author of Picture Your Prosperity and Financial Intuitive. Through her Messages from Money consultations, which I believe we may get one in today, a message from money. You guys got to hear that. So make sure you tune in for that. Ellen connects with the energy of money and channels messages that help her clients achieve happier, more abundant lives. Ellen is also a sought-after speaker on the art of prosperity, and her work has been featured on CNBC, ABC, NPR, in Time, and also Oprah Magazine. As a CPA, CFP, Ellen worked as a traditional financial advisor for over 25 years before selling her successful wealth management firm. Okay, so she knows a little bit about money for sure. Okay. So Ellen, what interested you in wanting to do this sort of work, working with money and everything? Is it something you was in your mind when you were young, or is it something that kicked in later? Or I'm curious, how it brought you into all this?
I would love to say ever since I was a little girl, I was counting my pennies, but it wasn't that it was so fascinating. I started my professional career as a public accountant, and it was more moving away from something than moving towards it. And when I started as a financial advisor, Daniel, what made me so interested was really about how people made decisions around money, what their thoughts and beliefs were. Although I was doing very traditional work at the time, the part that was so interesting was how people could have tons of money and still be scared they didn't have enough. And other people were really calm and content and had less means. And it really didn't relate to how much money somebody had. So I became a student of that over the years. Moving into more of the intuitive work with money was kind of really happened by accident. I don't know if it'd be helpful for me to share kind of the genesis story with you or not, but I'm happy to do that.
Oh yeah, genesis stories are always fun.
So I think I was always very intuitive with money, but didn't realize that's what I was doing when I was working with clients as a financial advisor. People would always leave my office saying, I feel so much better. And I didn't realize that I probably was tuning into ways to clear energy for them or talk to them in a way that had them feeling more calm. But I had an experience. I was at a workshop and we were doing some work around intuition. I was paired with a guy named James, who I barely knew. And the theme of this one pairing was money. And James was to think about an issue he had with money. And I had my hands on his shoulders. And when he turned around, I was to deliver a message. So James turns around and out of my mouth comes F you, although I said the word. I don't even want to be around you. I know you feel like having me in your life, having money in your life isn't spiritual. And he pulls out from his shirt and he said, Ellen, this is a pendant one of my clients gave me. It's the patron saint of poverty. He took it off, and all of a sudden I start walking next to him and I'm like, oh, now I want to be with you. Now, clearly those were not my words coming out of my mouth. I like to swear sometimes, but not at people and not at people I don't know and not in a professional setting. And I was like, whoa, what just happened? And I think that kind of, I really felt like money was talking through me. And I started after that to just play with my intuition and seeing if I had information that'd be helpful to share with people. And over the years now, my process is I actually journal with money on behalf of other people. And what I found is the messages are super healing and helpful. I don't swear at people anymore. Money doesn't either. It's always very inspirational and kind. I don't know. It really felt like that was jarring for me and for James because it needed to for both of us. Years later, I saw James and I asked him if I could share what happened, because I was speaking at this organization and I didn't want to, break confidentiality. He goes, oh my God, of course. And he said, Ellen, you don't realize since that evening, everything changed in my business. And even he looked different. Like his business was soaring. I was like, really? Like it was surprising to me. So that was kind of the evolution from being a very credentialed traditional financial advisor to one who now I think really sees how money works in our ways and in our lives in more expansive ways.
Do you want to meditate and make money? Let it be simple. Let it be easy. Let it be fun. Go to yoursacredpurpose.com and get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation today. Wow. Yeah, that's an awesome, powerful, very powerful story. It's like just giving the right person the right message, the right time. Boom, they're ready, right? It's right there and it came through you and it's so beautiful. I'd love to talk about that because this is a spiritual rock star show. And one of the things I talk a lot about historically anyway, for sure, is the disconnects people have with spirituality and money. We've definitely talked about it with other guests. So now you just mentioned that in that story. What is it like? And then also people also have disconnects if they have gifts like you do, like an intuitive gift, spiritual gifts, healing gifts. Especially then they have a disconnect between allowing money to come in, from those gifts, because you're told like that comes from God. That's different. Like it's so bizarre, but you should do it for free and help people and all that sort of thing. So what have you learned about people's, maybe it's a few different questions sort of almost in there, but like, what are some of the disconnects you see with people's sense of their spirituality and their sense of like, it's all about spiritual, man, material doesn't matter so much until it does, right? Spiritual, but spiritual and just help people. And then how people allow that to disconnect them from receiving money.
So if it's okay, I didn't know you were going to ask me this, and I downloaded yesterday a message from Money for your audience, and I think it's right on topic for this. So let me read this, and then we can continue that discussion if that's okay.
Do it, yeah.
Okay. So I wrote, hi, Money, what messages do you have for me for the spiritual rockstar audience? What would you like them to know? And this is what came back. Please know that money can be used as a powerful tool for spiritual transformations. Yes, sometimes people have used me to control, suppress, etc. Clearly not spiritual. And yet one of the most expansive spiritual practices is service and generosity. When you are adding value for others, when you're doing your purposeful work in the world, I want to be with you. You will draw me into your life with the magnet of generosity. And when you use me based on your values, when you share me with those who could use a hand up, I adore it. Can you do great work in the world without me? Yeah, of course. Your energy is a currency. And when you funnel financial resources into an area that needs me, glorious change can occur as well. If you've been brought up thinking that I'm not spiritual, you've been misinformed. I am not bad or evil. Rather, sometimes people have used me in ways that don't serve others or don't ultimately serve them as well. Remember, when you loosen your grip on me, I will flow back to you. So, money is such a powerful tool for good in the world. And many people have been indoctrinated or heard the, I don't know if the platitude's the right word, but that expression over and over, money is the root of all evil. it's not actually money that's the root of all evil. Money in itself is not evil. It's the way people choose to use it. And if they didn't have money as a way to control and be mean, they might do it in other ways,
Right.
right? They might be dishonest. But I think, can you do well in the world without having money? Yes. And think of all the positive changes that can happen with your financial resources. I mean, it's incredible. And like, why not? Money can be such a force for good in the world.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting. I mean, I'm kind of maybe expanding the topic here today, but I think about like the powers that be, so to speak. There's all this buzz around digital currency, and we're going to go into digital currency. That's what we want. It's going to be better for people probably running it. But anyway, but they want to bring this digital currency. But the thing is like they're like, it will have an expiration date. You'll only be able to use it so long. Everybody's afraid of that, but I've heard that experiment's been done, and it actually creates more prosperity, because people aren't just like, oh my God, it's fearful about it. They're like, I better spend it. I better keep it circulating. And as there's more circulation, there's more prosperity for everybody. So I think sometimes, getting back to what you just said, a beautiful, message for money and everything you said, it's like we're so fearful that it could be anything, any of our energy or any of our power, or anything we've got, to bring forth in the world, that we could somehow misuse something, including money. Like, we're so sensitive to it, especially as heart-centered beings. They're like, well, if there's any chance, forget it, I'm out. And then we don't allow ourselves to do things to prosper. So, but if we were willing to take a chance, it's almost like we think, I wonder what your experience is. Are people afraid of, it's probably all of the above, right? They're probably afraid they're going to be ridiculed, persecuted, killed, if they abuse their ability to receive money in a way that's off somehow, right? And then they're going to die and be stoned to death or something. And it's like, I really feel like, this creates a big issue. Whereas, let's say you did do something that was a little off in your transaction, you're going to pay for it. Trust me, it'll show up somehow in your life. So there's a natural consequence, in my experience anyway, whether people are willing to acknowledge it or not. There's natural consequences. So, and then it's not about shame and guilt and you're so bad, or other people are bad for what they've done, but natural consequences. And hopefully we could just learn from it, right? That's the idea. Ultimately, at some point, we can learn from it and shift our energy, shift our intentions, shift how we do things, expand more, right? So I think but we're so afraid to make a mistake, period. And especially in this category, I couldn't make one mistake or I'm dead, and it's like, guys, no, take the risk. I mean, I have, and I know I haven't always got it right. Sometimes I took on clients I probably shouldn't have taken on. I didn't realize it at the time. And, I thought I was doing the right thing. You got to learn. You can't be so afraid to open up and, increase your business and money using your gifts and being spiritual or whatever. And to the point where nothing works then. I mean, then you can't help people or make money. So I don't know. So that's what came up to share as you said that. Yeah.
And money tells me, when I'm doing consultations for people, sometimes when they've shared with me that they've had some financial trauma or some financial difficulty, or someone did kind of them wrong with money, or they made a mistake, money usually comes back and says, like, this is not a punishment for you. This is really an opportunity for growth. It might not feel like it at the time. And when people can come through to the other side, they're smarter, they're more grounded, they realize they are going to be okay. As you said, they're not going to die from this. And that, and I think it's important to know it's really not a punishment for you, but it's really, as you said, an opportunity for growth and learning.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, all of our financial heaviness or pain or shame or any of the dense energies, we have to realize, whether it's money or anything else, it's just saying expand, in my opinion, expand into what really is here and what's really possible. And with the energy that's already here within ourselves and expand into it, and then allow the money to flow, from there, and to be in that clean, keep cleaning up your energy and your relationship with money, which I know, like, we're very much on the same page with that, right? You particularly, much more than me, have met people with all this money, but they're miserable. And then, you can meet other people that don't have too much money, but they're so grateful for everything they have. They're way more abundant than the person with all that money. But then again, there's people that are making a lot of money, are very, very grateful as well, and generous, and utilize that for good. So that's really cool. And they're very thankful as well. So, but I think if I had to choose, like I've said so many times, I probably, honestly, I probably would take a better relationship with money over just quantity. Like, just give me lots of quantity. It's bringing me lots of money, and I'm all kind of tense and a weird energy all the time with it. I don't think it's just going to amplify my pain, which could be good in the long run if I utilize it correctly. But I'd rather have a better relationship with money rather than just, just lots of money only, So I think that's a neglected topic. Like, what is your relationship with money? So what do you do to help people? I know this is what you help with. This is one of the reasons why I bring it up. So how do you help people just in general, like, just to get the topic started in general with the relationship with money?
I'm so glad that you asked about this, because I think that often people they maybe think, oh yeah, I do have a relationship with money, but they don't spend any time actually exploring it. And one of the metaphors I think is super helpful for people is to think about, if your relationship with money was like a personal relationship, maybe whether it's a romantic relationship or a friend relationship. I think sometimes people think about how money is with them in the relationship, but not how you are back. Like, would money want to hang around you the way you are with it? And often when I have people thinking about, like, what is their relationship with money, they realize that maybe they've just been looking for a hookup. Like, they're happy when money's there for them, but then they don't pay attention to it, or they don't really care for it in a way that needs to be cared for. And we live we're talking about an ethereal spiritual conversation, but we live in a material world, and we live in both. And when they're both working, that's when things make sense. So if you're like, I'm grateful, I love money, and then you're not handling the practical parts of things, it's not going to work for you as well as if they're working in conjunction. So I think it's a wonderful question to ponder. Like, how are you? Would money want to hang around you?
Mhm.
Are you fearful? Are you trusting? Are you really good? Like, yeah, you and money are besties. Like, that's awesome.
Yeah, it is fascinating. I mean, I remember when I first explored that directly with somebody. One of my early memories of doing it anyway. And who knows when the first time was, but I remember someone taking me in. Okay, go within, see money, and I'll tell me what the feelings are you have with this money that you're seeing now and everything. And at first I was like, oh, it's wonderful and I love it and this and that. All right, now tell me the real truth of what you feel about money. Because I was all about positive mindset at the time. So it's like I would never give you the negative because I was being so positive. And like, what do you really feel about that money? And it's like, I don't know, it's mean, it wants to kick people's butts, it wants to control, it wants to, all these things came through, and I was a little bit surprised. I mean, I didn't really realize all that was in there until it started coming up, and it's like, oh my God, no wonder, I have these feelings I have around money. And so, yeah, once you can identify like what your true feelings are about money and not just pink light it, and all that, it's very powerful for me. And then, I've gone on to do a lot of money work with people, my own way, but probably some of it similar to what you do as well. But yeah, I mean, to really get that energy. Now, getting a better relationship doesn't always mean it automatically increases. At least that's been my experience. But at least it brings people into a better energy and a better place of peace, right? So I think that's a huge, huge, because no matter what happens day to day, if you're feeling good, hey, that's number one at least, right? You want to feel good. then let everything manifest from that energy. So so when you identify, okay, so thanks for listening to me, Cheryl. But so when we identify, Ellen, like, okay, I have this weird relation. I think like power wants to kick my butt and just make me take out the garbage or whatever, like in order to earn it or whatever. How do you directly try to help people to shift those energetic bonds, or however you put it? Like, how do you shift that relationship once you identify what the issue is?
Well, sometimes it can be as easy as identifying what the issue is,
Mhm.
because you could go, oh, well, that doesn't even make sense. It's not even my real experience, but yet it was playing in the background. And we develop our attitudes and beliefs about everything, but including money from, Dr. Bruce Lipton says, from conception to age 7. And that's most of our beliefs. So when we're itty bitty people, we're starting to already have beliefs around money that could be something our parents, we heard them say or watched them do or just saw around us, not blaming our parents for stuff, because, siblings could have totally different ways they grew up or how they are around money. But so some of it's just bringing it out and going, well, that doesn't even make any sense. I do suggest that people are very conscious about how they're speaking about money. So you may or may not know this, but the word abracadabra translates, you're smiling, yes, So it's got Hebrew and Aramaic roots, and it translates into one of the translations, I will create as spoken. I will create as spoken. So our words really matter. And one of the things I've gotten very attuned to is just how people will express things around money. So like you were saying, like, it's going to kill you. Blah, blah, blah. I know you were explaining like how some people feel about it, but some people actually do have those kinds of conversations. And one of my favorite strategies when I catch myself, when our kids do this, my clients do this, is when you catch yourself saying something you really don't want to have happen, is to say, cancel that thought, clear it away, and just replace it with what you would want instead. So again, it can be easy. And there's, I'm sure you work with your clients this way. There's ways you can start to envision just a better relationship with money. And that in of itself, you're building new pathways for you to have that. Would it be helpful for us to have a conversation about what to do when there's financial anxiety or fear that comes up?
Yeah, let's talk about that. Yeah.
Because it's so prevalent, right? Even with whether you have a lot of money or don't, just if you're living in this world, you sometimes have the news on, or you hear it, or you hear other people talking about it. Or often it could just be a thought like, oh my God, what if blah, 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 whatever that is. And some of the best ways I've seen to shift from fear, from stressing less to prospering more, there's kind of 2 easy to use strategies. One is generosity. One of my favorite things to remember is that generosity precedes prosperity. Not this giving back, but giving forward. And I would say most everyone listening to this probably has something they can give to somebody else. It can be a small amount of money. And I'm talking about financial giving here. Because if you're hanging on too tightly to what you have, it's like you've got clenched fists, it's impossible to receive. And by the act of generosity and giving, you're opening up the pathways for things to flow more to you. And it does need to be a balance, because I've seen people who have guilt around having a lot of money, or that for some reason, like the conversation we started with it's not spiritual. So they're giving, like they're giving everything away. And that doesn't work either. You need to be able to give and receive. So generosity is one. And the second tool is gratitude, which you also mentioned. Early in my financial advisory career, I noticed that my clients that were most set for their goals were super grateful. They would tell me what was going well in their lives. Or they'd say things like, oh, it'd be great to redo my kitchen, but I'm like, fine. If it doesn't happen, it's fine. And people that were overspenders not really setting themselves up for the future, would tell me what they don't have. We don't take big fancy trips. We don't drive big fancy cars. And many years ago, before I had read all the research, I don't even know if the research was out there then in the public about the benefits of gratitude. I mean, now we know there's like incredible benefits from a gratitude practice. I had this theory that a really good financial planning strategy was a gratitude strategy. So when our kids were little, they're in their 20s now, we would every night before they'd go to sleep, share 5 things that we're grateful for. And I'll tell a story in a second about that. But my theory was that they'll grow up to be more financially responsible adults if they are grateful. So that was my motivation for it, which they are. They're now, I'm not surprised. They're both, happily employed, doing work they love, and they're really good savers. When they were little, I expected to hear things that were materialistic, like I'm so grateful for my PlayStation or whatever they had at that point in time, my bicycle, but they would say really beautiful things. And this was when they were like 5 and 7, and those years around then. They would say, Mommy, I'm so grateful for my friends. I'm grateful for our teachers. I'm grateful for you and Daddy. One night, Benji, our son, said to me, Mommy, I'm so grateful that you and Daddy are so magnanimous and that we live in such a utopia and our life is so fortuitous. And I looked at him, and those were Mrs. Kramer's 5th grade spelling words that week.
Oh,
Yeah, but there's, and it's so simple things, having a gratitude practice. And I'm sure a lot of you listening already are like, yeah, I'm good. I have a gratitude practice. I'd encourage you to possibly include some financial gratitude in there.
Yeah.
I'm really grateful for the money in my checking account. I'm grateful that I'm able to pay my bills. I'm grateful that we have money to put food in our refrigerator, whatever it is for you.
Yeah, absolutely. I feel like I could double down on it. I mean, I'll say, oh yeah, I'm grateful for this. I'm grateful for what's provided. Because when you're not doing that, sometimes you tend to get more into worry and fear. And well, even if you're doing well, like, well, I'm making X this month, but I probably need to double it, damn it, because what about next month or whatever the ideas are. Economy's getting worse. I better be a billionaire by tomorrow or whatever. So yeah, it can get a little bit, or just like, I don't know where my next client, for the people listening are usually coaches and healers and stuff, like come from is the next thing I'm doing going to work? All those kind of different ideas are coming in, right? And then, they're just so concerned about where it's coming from that they're not trusting enough. Like you said, you mentioned that before. They're not trusting enough. It's coming. Just keep alert. Keep doing the things you know to do, or you're guided to do, or all those things, right? And it'll come. It always comes. I hear that from so many people. I'm like that say, "Oh, my money." I'm like, haven't you been provided for? Hasn't everything kind of worked out anyway? Despite all of your stories about money? Oh yeah, I guess I have. Oh, I'm kind of okay, I guess. Yeah, but I don't like that. Well, you just said you've been fine. You've been okay, right? So like really catching what they say, the first world problems, right? Oh my God, I don't have that car, or I can barely make these payments. Well, there's people that don't even have those opportunities. I mean, there's so many people don't even have those opportunities. So yeah, the gratitude is huge for us to be able to make peace with where we are, which allows what? More to come in, right? I mean, isn't that true? Haven't you seen that? I'm sure with the gratitude practice, your clients naturally start seeing more come in, right? I mean, I would think.
Yes. And yes. And I want to offer another expansion on both these ideas of generosity from a real practical level for people that are in business. If you're focused on where the next dollar is going to come from, or you haven't hit your goals. And I know for me, I've been there, and we've all, maybe not all of us, but I think most of us have experienced that. If you're self-employed, it's always worked better for me whenever I'm focused fearfully within to put my attention out and be focusing on how I can serve. Who can I serve? Who needs me more than ever? In my financial advisory practice, during one of the recessions, many of my advisor friends were freaking out. They're laying people off. They're like, our incomes are down. And I moved into, people need me more than ever. Oh my God, they're so freaked out. I need to be out there. They need my help. And in a recession, my business grew 39%. And that is, did I do some other things? Yes, but I actually believe that shift of how I can serve. And it just happened last month. I was feeling discouraged because a speaking engagement hadn't come through. And then I'm like, stop it. Who needs me more than ever? How can I serve? What can I do? And then, something really big just came through for me. And I think they're totally related. And it just feels better, right? Instead of sitting in fear, where's the next client going to come in from, to how can I serve? Who needs me right now?
Right. Yeah, that's huge. Yeah, exactly. Like, just sometimes I know, myself included, we could get in our head about who can use me the most right now. Like, well, maybe these people could use me. And then there's some deeper sense of it, a deeper sense when you just get past your concepts. It's like, oh, I guess that is true. I remember just tuning in for somebody during a session yesterday, their first session with me. And I'm like, I feel like you're helping leaders. And then she's like, yeah, I guess I've been around leaders all my life and helping them, but I never really thought about it before. So it's like, hello, it's right there in front, but we're not paying attention. It's like, well, who am I supposed to help and how am I supposed to help them? Sometimes it's like, what have you already been doing? Like, what have you already, been doing? And, just to embrace what you've already seen in your life, because there's definitely, almost always there's clues, usually there's clues anyway. Like, there's clues has been there already in your life of what your thing is. And then I love the, like, right now, like, because, maybe maybe there is a shift sometimes, right? Like, okay, I'm still doing money, but now it's for these people rather than those people, right? Where am I being called? If you ask money, right? Like, which is a fun way to do it. You ask money, where do you want me to serve now, right? And they get an answer from there. What you were talking about with generosity, I think, the mind can twist things so much. Okay, I'm gonna take all the money I got and I'm gonna start giving it to everybody. Like, every dollar I can, I'm gonna max out my credit cards. I'm giving it all away and I'm gonna sell everything I have. I'm doing it all. And then at the other side, I'm expecting I receive. Okay, that's a surefire formula for failure, right? Because it's not about, like, this idea, like, I'll do this and I'll get back. That's not generosity, right? It's so help us to understand, because maybe I'm the one crazy one, because I've thought that way before. Like, okay, because I've got that little gamer energy in my mind, like, oh, if you do this, you get that, and it's in there. So what is truly I know it's maybe a simple question, we all should know the answer, but, like, what truly is generosity?
I think you said it earlier in the conversation, which is about trust. So it's giving to give, and knowing what goes around comes around, just not always from the same person. And so giving because you can, because someone else needs it, and just trusting that things will come back to you. Now, if you give everything away with the energy of then more will come back to me, you have an expectation with it. So you're not giving to give, you're giving because you feel like then there'll be a bigger payoff.
Right.
You're
right.
also setting yourself up for someone else, for you to not be okay and others to have to then support you. And I don't think that's what people mostly receive. You might get the wrong kind of receiving back, like out of, deep need versus things flowing to you in a positive way. So, and it's fun to play with this besides financial things. Well, let me first start with a way to do this financially in a systematic way, and then a way to play with this in your business with not necessarily financial things. So as a financial advisor, and anyone who's ever read anything about finances, there's this concept of pay yourself first, that you take money off the top, you put it in a retirement plan or savings, whatever. I actually found it super helpful, in addition to that, to be giving off the top. So to take a percentage of your income and earmark it for giving. Now, the percentage is up to you. There's, like, traditionally a lot of around 10%, but if you make $100 million, maybe you should be giving more than 10% because you've got plenty of dollars. If you're in a different situation where you feel like you're just getting by, maybe it's a smaller percentage to start. What I love about a percentage is that as your income goes up, you proportionally give more. So we don't get anchored. There's this thing that happens that they talk about in behavioral finance, that a number can get anchored. I remember dealing with a physician who said to me, he was making well over $1 million at this point, and he said to me, Ellen, we give $10,000 to our church. And that sounded like a lot of money to him. And I'm sure his med school days, he never envisioned being able to give $10,000. But on $1 million income, it's not actually that much money. So a percentage is super helpful. One thing that I did after I wrote my first book, Great with Money, where we talked about giving, I'm like, well, maybe I should like set up a systematic giving plan. So my husband and I took 10% off the top, and we put it into just a regular savings money market account. So it wasn't like every single month we gave it away, but we accumulated money to be earmarked for giving. It was kind of a chicken way to start this because I knew if I needed the money, I could still get at it.
Right.
Never, ever have we gone back into that account, but I could have.
Yeah.
And we could see what we had to give. So if it was, let's say you were walking in a charity walk and you were raising money, I found myself being more generous. And then if it was a charity and important to Stephen and myself, then we knew what we had to give. We ended up being able to do some amazing things over the years. Like we've taken our kids on volunteer vacations all over the world because we had this pool of money earmarked for giving. So that's a super helpful, systematic way to give. And mention that there's other ways to play with this in business. One of my favorite marketing strategies is if I want more referrals, I give more referrals. So who can I help? And I would set goals around how many referrals do I give this week versus referrals around sales calls or whatever else goals around sales calls. And that whole idea of what goes around comes around, but not necessarily from the same person. So if I gave you a referral, I wouldn't be like, okay, TikTok, Daniel, like, where's my referral? That's give to get. But if I gave you a referral because you're going to take beautiful care of the person I referred to you, you're happy, they're happy, then all of a sudden someone I haven't talked to in years sends me a referral. And I think there's some beauty and magic around that. And so the concept is to give what you most want to get.
Yeah, totally. And I think that what you said about trust and the like no expectation of receiving something tangible exact back, right? Like especially with maybe no expectation of getting anything back, and just for the energy of it feeling good to give, like embracing and trusting that feeling that we now naturally have to want to give. And but yeah, I think some of our listeners, like in some areas of life, are probably overdone on that part. Just keep giving and giving, and in that case, I would say start giving to yourself first. Maybe all kinds of philosophies on the money stuff, right? Like, okay, it could be the 10% to give away or 10% to invest. Or it's like, no, you pay yourself first, you do whatever the hell you want, and that's your system. And I don't know, I guess any of them could maybe work. I suppose, Al, I don't know if your perspective is, I think it always comes down to what feels good to you, what really helps you feel like you're expanding. But I would, I hear the bias towards the generosity because there's nothing like giving, right? I mean, there is, often there's nothing like giving, but yet sometimes I think like we feel so restricted, like, or at least that's what we tell ourselves. I'm so restricted. I don't have the money to do this. I don't have the money to do that. Some people come up with systems that are like, okay, so then I have 10% to just blow, right? The old T. Harv Eker thing, and 10% for savings, 10% for that, 10%. And they got all these different things. And there's so many different things, going on with that. Like, but so do you find like different systems can work well for people, or do you kind of tend to have a bias towards, it's always generosity, it's always right off the top, forget all that other stuff? Or I'm just curious what your philosophy is on that.
My philosophy is to find a system that works for you.
Yeah.
The financial services industry is very prescriptive. And that's not always good, because I remember once talking to someone and she's like, if one more friggin' person tells me to organize my papers, I'm going to poke their eyes out, because it's never going to happen. And we all have things that we're really good at and things that are less than excellent. So maybe if it really needs to get done, like I'm a CPA by background, I don't do my own taxes. I hate doing it. It's not where my strengths are. So then delegate that, pay someone to do it for you. So I think that it really does just depend. And I want to go back to something I heard through what you were saying, is that some people are also super great givers. This is a generous community that listens to your show, and maybe they need to be better receivers on things. And one thing that sometimes is helpful for people is to realize, so here's the dirty little secret about giving, is we do it because it feels really good. Now, if you are not open to receiving, you're hurting someone else's ability to give, because there's always a giver and a receiver. I just a silly example. I used to, when I travel and people will be like, can I help you with your suitcase? I'd be like, no, I got this. Like, I've got this. And then I realized, why wouldn't I let them feel good about lifting my suitcase up into the bin? Like, yay, I don't have to do that. And allowing people to help you is a generous act sometimes. And it can be very selfish to not be a good receiver. And in business, I just want to say this thing you mentioned when we first started, like some people feel like I'm doing spiritual work, I shouldn't charge for that. We live in a material world, as I said, and people will not value what you're doing for them as much as if you're not charging appropriately. People value what they pay for. And it doesn't mean sometimes you don't do pro bono work or you don't help people out. But if that's your initial inclination, you're not necessarily serving people. I mean, there's a woman I did a consultation with, Messages for Money consultation, and I hadn't talked to her till 2 years afterwards. And I kind of forget sometimes what happens in those, because I'm just sharing the messages from money. We have conversations in between. And she said, when I talked to her again, she's like, Ellen, I've upped my fees 5 times, because I got really clear in our session that people weren't valuing what I was doing for them. And what I do, she's a health coach, makes such a huge difference for them. Their whole lives are changed. And now they're listening to my advice. They're paying me appropriately. They're making an investment in themselves, and they are getting healthier. And I think before she's like, no, I want them to do this and I don't want to charge them too much, but she wasn't serving them by not charging them enough money.
Right. Yeah, I've definitely experienced that. I do my tuning in and everything. I call it energy scanning, and I have a process, a formal process and method that I teach people for years on how to do it and all that sort of thing. And I remember when I first started teaching people, have that first client or two that I was working with the energy scanning, and just finding like found myself wanting to charge little because it was new. It was something new I was doing. And so I'm like, okay, I'll, let's just go easy on it. I'm not going to charge a lot. And then what happened is nobody did anything with it. Like, they're like, oh yeah, that's cool. Oh yeah, this is cool. This thing I could do. Okay, go out and do it. Yeah, I haven't done it. Yeah, why don't you go out and do it? Well, I don't know. I just haven't done. But if they were paying a lot more money to learn and to be committed to doing it, there was a hell of a lot more better chance they're actually going to do it. And even then, sometimes they would hesitate, not complete, not do as much as I asked, but it increased the chance tremendously. So if anything, I needed to charge even more than my top dollar, because sometimes it is true. It sounds like a racket, but it's true. I mean, people tend to be more committed and get more results when they invest more on average, I would say. It's not an absolute. And of course, it's always, if you're in integrity and all those things too have to be in place. But, if you're just scamming people, that's a different story. But I'm saying, like, people tend to get more results when they invest more, when they're working with people in integrity, of course. So yeah, that was, something I learned early on. And it's like, wow, that's just demonstrated to me, like, this does not serve anybody for me to charge way less. So thank you for sharing that. That is so true. Guys, if you're one of those people, I'm just helping people out. Are you tired of, like, people not taking action on what they're supposed to be doing? Start charging more. For
So I
sure.
wanted to, yes, I just wanted to confirm, like I've had that experience and to share that. Now, so, so what is it like? So you give messages from money, like from the energy of money, and deliver these messages. So, you gave an example earlier on of like when it started happening and whatnot. How did you get crazy enough to just kind of trust that? Is it just an impulse? Like I'm saying, like, because you said, "Oh, I knew it wasn't like me talking," and so it just kind of organically started happening, or how did it really unfold? I'd like to know more about that, and more about this gift you have of channeling the energy of money, because it makes a huge impact, obviously.
That's it's been an interesting transition or transformation really for me. Part of it was finding my process and playing with it with friends, and then getting confirmation like, no, and this is really helpful. You should do this with other people. I'm like, really? Like people I don't know? And the truth is I didn't know about my friends' issues with money because we don't talk usually about that, or maybe they hadn't. But, so it was some of it practice, and the trust with the journaling. I just said, I'm just going to trust it. And amazingly, things come through that then people go, oh, you were right on with that. So I got more confirmation. The bigger thing for me, in addition to trusting it, Daniel, is trusting it's okay for me to share this. And moving from my very traditional background, I got lots of letters after my name. I was always dealing with people's money and felt I had to look and be a certain way that identity. And I still do a lot of work in financial services. And I didn't want them to think I was a weirdo, right? Like this was, and so little by little, I started sharing it with people. I'd be in a meeting with someone in financial services and I'll say, yeah, I do this. And I'm telling about the talks that I do for financial advisors. And then I'll mention, and I do financially intuitive readings. And sometimes people go, oh, and then it just goes over and like, cool. Or sometimes it'd be like, really? Like, what's that? And I get more, really, what's that, than I expected. I think for me, it became realizing there are many, many people open to this that wouldn't necessarily be, I call it like woo forward, like that they're like the universe, they use universe and spirituality and those kind of words a lot, but people that maybe don't talk about it, but they get intuitive readings, or they're open to things, or they have crystals sitting on their desk and they never really discuss it, but it's part of what they do in their very traditional work. And so it's been a big evolution for me. And actually what I'm finding is the more I do this, the more interesting kind of people come into my life. I was speaking in a room of 500 very conservative financial advisors, and I mentioned, and I talk to money and it talks back. And I said, and if this doesn't even make sense to you, it's kind of like a metaphor. And like I got standing ovation and it went over their heads. And then some young woman went up to me afterwards. She's like, do you channel money? Like, so the people that it speaks to hear it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I think your audience is probably really open to this because they wouldn't be looking for a spiritual rock star podcast if they weren't. My audiences aren't always as focusing on this. So.
Right. So it's fun. It's probably fun and a little scary maybe for you to be in that position, right? What are they going to think? And but it's interesting because there's going to be people that become believers, and there's other people that be skeptical still, and other people who like are already believers right away. And you never know, and so yeah, it's very fascinating. And so, well, congrats on trusting that. I mean, that's really important, I think, because we have so much capacity to expand what's possible in our consciousness by trusting these gifts that we have. And obviously, I've been big on that with things I teach. So thank you for being you and doing that. I know you have some gifts to give to people. maybe some messages for money and whatnot. You have some goodies to give to people. Do you want to tell them about that now?
Oh, sure. I would love to offer, and this is all free, that if you go to ellenrogin.com, ELLENROGIN.com/goodies, you can download a free copy of my first book, Great with Money. And there's other resources there that I think will be super helpful for you for your prosperity and expanding consciousness. And I'd love to just offer that. There's no cost for that. And yeah, so a gift.
Yeah, absolutely. And certainly Ellen likes to give sessions and all those sorts of things to people. If you're interested, she loves to do sessions and give you those messages for money directly. So feel free to inquire about that if you're really interested. I mean, I have a feeling she can do some money miracles for you in your life if you're feeling that calling. Okay.
Yeah.
So
Can I just mention, because I'm not used to mentioning this, I have a new book coming out too. So Picture Your Prosperity, which has been out for a while, is a very helpful book, but my next book, Messages from Money, How to Stress Less, Prosper More, and Reshape Your Relationship with Money, is coming out in the fall. So I'm excited for that.
awesome. Yeah, it'll be probably out around the time this podcast is aired. So
Cool.
timing. So yeah, definitely check out Ellen's new book. We'll put links to things in the show notes and be sure to check everything out. So all right, great. Well, I'd love to share with you, Ellen, some energy scanning and some downloads I might have for you today.
Awesome.
Are you ready to receive?
Yes, thank you.
Awesome. Okay, so I'll just take a moment to tune. I'll give the 3 downloads, and we'll maybe just connect about them briefly afterwards. Okay. Yeah, there's so just to reinforce, you are the words clear channel come to me. So you are a clear channel, and we will say things like everybody can channel, and that's true, and everybody is channeling, right? Some they're channeling something, right? So we're a channel for something. What channel are you on? You're a clear channel, which means you have more of a cleaner, natural connection with those higher messages from the divine or source, higher self, whatever you want to say, but you're that clear channel. So that's really powerful, and certainly for money too. So let's see. Just again, like I said, I was sort of saying before at the end of the show, just see like a sense of wizardry within the money. I look at your brow chakra, your third eye chakra. So I look in that area and I just see like this energy at the top of that chakra, just you kind of overseeing, what's unfolding in the economy and in the world. A lot with money, but probably other things. And you notice how the systems are working, and you can see how there could be more cooperation, they're becoming more interconnection with different systems where they came together, more good could work out. So maybe like if these systems worked with those systems. So I'm saying in general, because I just how it comes to me first, and then often the people I'm reading have some of the details, but I'm just seeing that. And so you can bring wholeness and more expansion for these different systems, or maybe they're organizations that could be working together more together, where maybe they're not as prosperous alone, or maybe they're even butting heads, by not working together, something like that. So, okay, so I'm just noticing that. So that would be true with individuals as well, right? So you can see how it would work together better. Okay, so let's see what else comes in. something, there's something with maybe your mom or something. I just get something about mom, I love you. So there could be, and sometimes I get the person wrong. I said I get the word mom, but it could be someone else. But I just get something about something about not hurting me or something, like don't so there, because what I get is this heavy shame energy that's maybe in her field. So there's this um keep it close to the vest, don't brag, be humble. It's shameful to be braggadocious and stuff. So like a growing edge for you could be um to be a little bit more bombastic, sort of, like even keeled, but a little bit more of that. And you have done more of that over the years, I know, but they're just saying it's sort of like trust the wild side a little bit more. So that's kind of the way it's coming through. Yeah, there it goes for more growth. All right. Yeah, to be okay with that, not to be, I don't know, proud if that's the word, but to be to display that. So I'll just leave it at that for now. Okay, so those are the a few things coming through. Sometimes it makes sense right away, some may not. So Ellen, yeah, what reflections, thoughts of what was coming through? Yeah.
Yeah. Well, I'm feeling affirmed with clear channel.
Mhm.
And this seeing how things fit together, really interesting. Nothing super specific, but I'm a really good macro person, not
Yeah,
so good
yeah,
on the micro stuff.
yeah.
So what came through, not so much organizations, but I love the idea to being open to that. With individuals, I think I do a lot of work with small business owners or financial advisors, and some of this kind of conversation that we're having, I see as creating synergy there. And it feels like a generous message too, when you can put people together.
Yeah.
The mom thing, probably I'm pretty, as I said, fairly conservative in my professional way of being. And I'm sure that carries out. When you first said mom stuff, 6:30 this morning, our daughter, who does not live in Chicago, where I live, surprised me. My birthday is tomorrow. And she surprised me today. And so when you said my mom, I'm like, no, it was me being the mom. But the second part sounded like my mother in terms of more conservative versus the braggadocious part. So
Yeah.
I appreciate that.
And so just to keep that as a growing edge, like okay, I can let more of my untamed side, as they call it, or whatever, out and be even more bigger in a way in your energy. Show the bigness of your energy is what it is, like to let that be seen. Yeah, because you do. I have seen some of your stage videos, and I can see some of that happening there for sure. But yeah, they're just like, come on, just a little bit more,
Cool.
The message I was getting. Okay, great. So
Thank you.
sure thing. And everybody, if you want to learn more about me, you can go to yoursacredpurpose.com. Certainly I do energy scan private consultations for people, for light leaders, people that want to seriously reach a lot of people, impact a lot of people's lives, and of course make a lot of money in a joyful, aligned way. I tune into that and help to see that for you and together with you, and to help create that. So even in a single session with me, I guarantee it can change your life and your business potentially. So check that out. My website, Rock Your Sacred Purpose Energy Scan, is what that one is called. And then I also have the free Meditate and Make Money meditation. Opens up your energy, your chakras, and gives you attunements with the energy of money. And it helps you to naturally just be a magnet for more money by getting in that energy, and then getting clarity on what wants to happen next by just being tuned in, taking the time, and receiving those questions from your guidance. So you can receive that at yoursacredpurpose.com, the free Meditate and Make Money meditation. All right. So anyway, so I'm grateful again. Helen, for you to be on the show today. And I can't, acknowledge you enough. Just the role you're playing in the world. You're in the traditional world, but you're also in the spiritual world at the same time, and the way you're a bridge for that, and the incredible work you do with people with money. And I just wanted to say I'm very grateful to have you on today, and I appreciate you.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
And I want to say thanks to everyone tuning in. Like I always say, keep on tuning in. We'll keep on rocking it here at Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Till the next time.
Spiritual Rockstar Podcast. Stay tuned for our next upcoming new episodes each Wednesday and Saturday. Please be sure to subscribe, rate, and review to help us to serve you best. As a reminder, you can get your free Meditate and Make Money meditation at www.yoursacredpurpose.com to rock your sacred purpose. Goodbye for now, everybody.